Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing a Pox deck at the request of a donor. This is a regular donor who definitely helps make my channel be what it is today. People who donate regularly really do make a big difference, and they love seeing Pox, so we're playing some Pox for them. This particular build we've tried to fit in Bloodghast, which is a card that I and they both love. So, the Pox card in question is Smallpox. This is 2 mana, each player loses 1 life, discards a card, sacrifices a creature of their choice, then sacrifices a land of their choice. So this can strip a lot of permanents away, and the idea is that we're trying to break the parity of this. Now the way in which we're trying to do that is having Life from the Loam so we can keep recurring our lands, having permanents in play that don't care about being sacrificed because they're not one of the listed ones, so Grist and Liliana are good for that, or Bloodghast, which can be pitched from your hand, it can be sacrificed, it doesn't matter, it's going to come back at some point, especially when we're doing loam stuff. And we sort of wrap this in a almost lands looking strategy at times. So we've got a bunch of wastelands, we've got some Urza sagas, we've got some Mishra's factories, which is cool. We've got Ghost Quarter, Cabal Pit, Boseiju. So we have some tools here. And then we have a bunch of mana producing lands and some Mox Diamonds to power some stuff out ahead of curve. Our Urza Saga package is quite small. We've just got the Mox Diamonds, the Shadowspear, and the Nihil Spellbomb. You could definitely run things like Currency Converter if you want to, which is another way of breaking the parity of Smallpox and Liliana. There's only so many things I could fit in here, and I did want to try and play this exploration to see how it felt. The only other card worth talking about here, I suppose, is Formless Genesis. This is a relatively new card. It was from Duskmourn, so it's a 3 mana sorcery. Create an XX colorless shapeshifter creature token where X is the number of land cards in your graveyard. It has Death Touch. So, the idea is when we get to a certain stage of the game, we've been milling ourselves with Life from the Loam or Grist or discarding cards with Liliana, we can then just start playing a bunch of Death Touch threats and just keep cranking them out every turn. Because this has Retrace. If you're unfamiliar with Retrace, you may cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a land card in addition to paying its other costs. So, at a certain point in the game, we're just going to set up like a loop where we make one of these every turn. And that's going to be pretty strong for us in theory to close the games out, which is something that Smallpox decks tend to struggle with. So what I've done with this particular build is we've gone away from some of the control elements. We've tried to add in a little bit more punch to win the game. And then we've gone a little bit up on our Planeswalker count to see how it works. Whenever I play Grist, I always want more of them. So we got 3 today, and let's see how that fares. There's definitely some things that I'm not sure about this deck. Like, is the mana base right? Do we want the factories? Could we just have another coloured source and another saga? I went through a lot of iterations to get to this, and I'm still unsure about this, but it got to the stage where I just had to play the deck and see how it fared. Sideboard-wise, we've got some tools for some of these combo decks that are going to be annoying for us. We've got ourselves some graveyard hate and a little bit of removal to supplement the fact that we're a bit low on removal here. And we're just hoping that we can use Thoughtseize and Smallpox to deny enough resources alongside Wasteland for some of these combo decks. But a lot of the decks that just combo you on turn 1 are going to be hard matchups for us anyway, so we're kind of just hoping to avoid them. Alright, that's the list. Please remember to like and subscribe, and if you would like to help the channel out and become a donor, you can check out my Patreon, which is linked in the description below. And I have a tier where you just get a monthly deck on the channel of your choice. Alright, let's get Bloodghast Poxing. We're on the play for round 1. Our hand is a bit slow, but if these Wastelands are good, they're going to be very good. I'll keep this. We can begin with an Undercity, sorry, not Undercity, so it was Underground Mortuary. I knew it was under something. And this can give us like half a ponder for our first turn. Maybe we can just Wasteland our opponent to Oblivion, or we can play an Urza Saga game. Possibly Grist ends up being a useful tool to leverage. If they're on like a more controlly list, then the Urza Saga can do a lot of work against them. If they're on a combo deck, then we're going to be kind of out of luck with a lot of the stuff we want to do. Surveil into Thoughtseize would probably be about the best thing we're looking for right now. Because then we can Thoughtseize, play the Saga out. Well, play the Saga out, then Thoughtseize, so we can play around days. And then we can just start grinding out constructs the turn after. Flooded Strand, Island, Ponder. So we could be looking at a whole bunch of different decks. I don't think it changes the way we play here. Should get our Mortuary, have a little Surveil action. And Mishra's Factory, is that what I want to be doing right now? It is a threat, but is it something that we're using right now? I don't think it is. I think that goes to the graveyard. That probably tells our opponent a little bit about what we're up to. Let's play this as a Saga out. Let's get this exploration down. And we can have a bonus Wasteland for our troubles. So our opponent might fetch around this, or they might have to fetch into it. This can cause them some awkwardness, but we'll see. A Lotus Petal. Okay, we might just be getting comboed off here. Could be Storm, could be Doomsday. Okay, could be Show and Tell. Okay, there's a sneak attack coming our way. I can't imagine we're going to have a great time versus the old sneak attack deck. How bad is it? How many permanents are we losing? None. Okay, I can live with losing no permanents for now. There is no Emrakul here, but they can put in an Arc of Cruelty. And they attack us for what, 13, 14, 15, 16 this turn. And then they can show and tell in an Omniscience next turn. It's a lot. So what do they take? Lotus Petal. Okay, they're playing the Lotus Petal out now. Omniscience, Volcanic Island, Show and Tell, Daze. Okay, so I assume the Arc of Cruelty is getting chucked in here. There it is. I guess we'll get rid of this. Urborg is fine. So this is 13, 14, oh, this is exactly 16, and we're on 16 life because of the additional trigger of it entering. Yeah. Okay, we just got ruined very, very quickly there. How do we go about beating this? We can maybe make them sacrifice some guys. That is a thing we're allowed to do. Damping Sphere can stop their stuff for one turn. I don't think that's worth it for us. Yeah, this matchup looks like it's going to be a rough one. So we don't need a Nihil Spellbomb. Shadowspear seems very unlikely to be useful here. I like the Liliana plan. I like the Grist plan. If they put something in to play like Show and Tell it in, we can actually kill it, which is not always a thing that we get to do. Bloodghast not doing the most. We do need to clock our opponent. Smallpox is good. Cabal Pit is unlikely to do very much here. Probably ball one of those out. Now we just get rid of a Bloodghast for now. Oh, we know we're a 61 card deck, aren't we? We get to keep the Bloodghast. This doesn't really interact with what our opponent's doing very much. Then we need to mulligan. We got some Thoughtseizes in our deck. Smallpox. Okay, I can live with Smallpox. One of these wastelands because we've already got another one. So we're probably looking at Verdant Catacombs. Go and get the Surveil land next turn. Smallpox. And try and work our way towards reducing our opponent's ability to play this game. If we can wasteland loop our opponent, that'll be good, because they're probably going to fetch a basic on turn 1 and then do like ponder or whatever. So we'll try and snag that with the Smallpox, and then we can start hitting their other stuff with the wasteland afterwards. Or they could just go right now and we could lose. That's also fine. It's not fine, but it's what. Oh, we're stuck up. Okay. So we could just wasteland our opponent here instead. I don't know if our opponent would try and go for Mages of the Moon against us. I think their game plan is just good enough anyway, and we can't really afford to respect that and their main game plan. Exploration, I will have that, please. Exploration here. I will deploy this. If we deploy the Saga, next turn, we spend 2 mana, make 2 land drops, so we don't get to start cranking out Saga constructs yet. So I think we play out the Urborg, and then we just wasteland our opponent off the Ancient Tomb. And then we're in it. Good old Wasteland Loam Gaming. This can go and fetch them a basic island. Play this out to help play around days. Let's loan back some spells. And I'll play this Verdant Catacombs. I'll cast a Smallpox. Doesn't matter what land you have, you're going to lose it. We will discard this Wasteland, so we can just rebuy that next turn anyway. And we can get rid of this Verdant Catacombs. By them not fetching there, it tells me they don't have loads and loads of lands in their hand. So we want to thin out lands if they have more of them. Okay, so we get to Wasteland them again. Now, they can just build up a hand which does Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal, and gets us. But you got to do what you got to do sometimes. And this is a matchup where we have to grief our opponent by wastelanding them into the dirt. So if we're going to get Wasteland, Catacombs. Let's play out this Wasteland. I'll play our Wasteland here as well. We don't get to make a construct this turn, but we don't need to. It'd be nice. We can make one on our next turn, because we don't need to loan back the Wasteland this turn. I haven't got anything going on here. We've achieved griefing mode. Or Bloodghast as well. Love to see it. Get Mox Diamond here. Bin this off. Loan back. Saga. Wasteland. Forest. I'll play this Wasteland. Sorry, this Saga. We'll get our Bloodghast back. Yeah, Bloodghast. Welcome to the party. I'll play a Wasteland as well. We have Sheoldred's Edict up. Now, they could just get Omniscience going and then we're never getting anywhere. I'll dredge. Sure, we can get a counter on this. I'll make a construct now. Because it pumps our other construct. Bash in for 5. Play this. Get back the Bloodghast. And then just loan back some more stuff. Play another land. And we have our opponent dead next turn, I think, right? So these will be 5s each. That's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Get some Bloodghast action going. This is where they just Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal, Show and Tell, Omniscience, and then we lose. Alright, we got there. Now this is what we have to do. We have to grief our opponent out. That's our only option in this game. So let's just go back again. It's not always going to work that well, especially when our opponent's on the play, so they get more time to do what they need to do. They get to have their lands more before we start chipping them away. They do have basics they can fetch if they're in the right situation to do so, but we do have access to Ghost Quarter, and obviously the Smallpox can take out a basic land. How many sources do we have? Let's have a look. We have 16 coloured sources. How many of them cast Life from the Loam? Or don't cast? 1, 2... 4 of them don't cast Life from the Loam. So that's 12. Alright, I'm going to keep it. We need the Wastelands to try and win this game. This hand looks pretty bad, and there's a reason for that, because it is pretty bad. But it has the tools we actually need to win the game. We need to get a little bit lucky, but that's just the nature of how this game plays out sometimes. I'd rather take a sketchy hand that actually has a plan that can beat our opponent than a reasonable hand that doesn't have an out. So we could draw a swamp at some point, and then we could draw an Urborg, and this whole hand is just great at that point. We draw a green source, we get to do loaming stuff. Like, we're swinging for the fences a little bit with a hand like this, but it is the case of that's how we have to approach this matchup. I would love to wasteland my opponent here. Can we do them in the beginning of combat here? Disrupt a Flute. So they're going to name Wasteland, and now our hand is going to look really bad. But we've at least got to take out a land here. We don't really have any ways of blowing this up. I'll play out this other Wasteland that is now useless. The other option there was to not play anything and discard a Bloodghast. Maybe that's slightly better, which is a horrible situation to be in. My opponent's got nothing over there. Do I want to just discard a Bloodghast and then start getting in with it next turn? Or I can Life from the Loam back, but we don't have anything good worth Life from the Loaming back. Alright, I'm going to go to discard and just discard this Bloodghast. Wish we'd have done that last turn, to be honest. Okay, a Brainstorm. Our opponent is very likely to break out of this one land that they're on here. Would love to have access to this Smallpox. Urborg, that would be a good draw for us. Lotus Petal, that is not a mana source, though. Well, it is a mana source, but not a permanent one, so I'll take that. There is the Smallpox. So we can play the Bayou and work towards Smallpox next turn. We are getting pressure if we do this. Let's get the Bloodghast back. And then what are we doing? If we Life from the Loam back this Wasteland, next turn we can draw and make sure we're getting towards the Smallpox, but we're not quite there, are we? We could hold up the Sheoldred's Edict if our opponent does manage to get a creature into play. I think we're supposed to just go for the Loam plan. Not really have any way to blow up artifacts. Feels like a bit of a miss from my deck. I think we've got the Boseiju and that's about it. So we can dredge towards that. And then just try and wasteland. But they don't have anything worth wastelanding right now because they haven't got any viable targets. They shuffle all of that ponder. Do they find a land? As long as our opponent is stuck on 2 mana, I think we're okay. I think we are dredging. Particularly big fan of those cards over there in our graveyard. I guess we're attacking. We'll loan back this Cradle. We've got 8 cards in hand, so we could play this Cradle out, play this Exploration, and that's going to give us a pretty good turn next turn if this sticks. If you have to spend resources on it, then it's fewer resources they have to go off with, maybe. What are they exiling? Please be like a show and tell or something. It is a show and tell. Okay. That probably means they have another one, but still. What do we put in if they show and tell? Can we put in the Grist? I think we can, because it's a creature until it's in play. So we can put this into play, and then we can minus it on our turn to kill whatever they put into play. But yeah, we kept a bit of a sketchy one because it was a sketchy one that could cheese our opponent, and we need to cheese in this matchup. And it's so far going alright. Our opponent's combo deck, and we're still alive on turn 6. Or do they miss on lands again? That's not where you want to be, opponent. Formless Genesis. We don't have enough land cards in our graveyard for that to be really interesting. What is the play here? We can loan back the Catacombs. We can go and get ourselves... Should be a swamp, just in case. I've already got the Yavimaya. Sure. And now we'll cast a Smallpox. Actually, no, we won't. We'll attack first. Let's be clever about this. Now we'll Smallpox. I'm not sure this is going to resolve, but our opponent will have to spend some real resources. Like, bouncing a land here is kind of annoying for them, if they have a daze. But if we take out this one island, it's going to be good. Okay, another Force of Will. Pitching an Omniscience. Okay. Would have loved to have discarded our Bloodghast there. Nothing for our opponent. Oh, we're going to cheese it. Maybe we are. Let's see how big our Formless Genesis will be. We got 1, 2. It's not many. Okay, we'll attack for 2 here. I'm going to enjoy this turn quite a lot, I think. We go black, black. 1 more Smallpox for the road. Discarding a Bloodghast, sacrificing a Bloodghast. Oh, yeah. I'll discard this Bloodghast. We'll lose... I guess this Bayou is fine. Then I will play this Wasteland out. Hello, Bloodghast friends. And then we will just loan back some more lands. And then I guess we can Formless Genesis. And that could probably get us there. So attack for 4 here. I guess we keep up the Sheoldred's Edict in case something really goes wrong. We just need to put a little bit more power in play. So we play this Factory. We'll cast this Formless Genesis with Retrace here. Discard this Verdant Catacombs. Gets us a 2-2. So this is 2, 4, 6 damage plus the Factory, and we're holding up Sheoldred's Edict. I think that should be good enough. It's about the best we can do. We managed to overcome the Disruptor Flute, but the fact that we managed to get 1 Wasteland off first was really clutch. Alright. Powerful Bloodghast action. This is what you came to see, and this is what I'm delivering. On the board already. Let's get around 2. Okay, we've got a 1-2-3 curve. I'll certainly give that a whirl. Let's get this Thoughtseize off. Begin the game with it. See what our opponent's working with. Not that it really impacts what we're playing. Oh dear. Balustrade Spy, eh? We're doing that. Okay, goodbye Balustrade Spy, I suppose. Part of me is like, oh, I could take the Chrome Mox and shut them off black, but let's just not be silly about it and just take the Spy. I suspect we are going to lose this one quite hard. We need a matchup we can realistically grind in. So they're playing out the Chrome Mox because they've seen discard, they don't want to get their mana source discarded. They're probably putting Cabal Pit underneath it. I don't think they're playing anything this turn. Another Bloodghast, you say? Okay. They don't have any lands, so this Urborg's not really going to matter. So we may as well play this out and get our power going. Our formidable 2 power. Bloodghast is one of my all-time favourite creatures. I just love it. Just a simple guy. Throughout Magic's history, there have been a whole bunch of creatures that jump out of the graveyard for free. And this is definitely my favourite of them. I like playing lands. Lands are my favourite card type, so it's nice to lean into that a little bit. But yeah, sweet card. And the new art is pretty cool. Well, they pass the turn, so we get to continue doing our stuff. There's no way we can get the Surveil trigger and then get a Bloodghast out of the graveyard here. So Bloodghast will deal more damage, right? So this is 2 damage next turn. This will be 1 damage next turn, then 2 damage, then 3 damage, and 4 damage. I think it makes more sense to make the Bloodghast here. And then we can get Surveil action and maybe find ourselves towards a Thoughtseize that can strip the Cabal Ritual or something. Thoughtseize. Which of my 2 Grist would you like to take? This means almost certainly that our opponent isn't going off this turn. But maybe they're able to go off next turn. They wanted to check the coast is clear. Alright, let's go and get this Underground Mortuary and see if we can surveil any useful action anywhere. That can go in the graveyard. Life from the Loam is unlikely to be the most useful thing right now. I think we're just on Team Grist here. Getting close to Hasty Bloodghast if we find any more. Let's put some 4 damage on our opponent. So we're going to play this Grist out. We're not going to deploy the land until after we've plussed the Grist because we might mill over a Bloodghast. We did not mill over a Bloodghast. Oh, it was a Thoughtseize I would have wanted. I will play out this 1 land, but I will not crack it. So that way when we mill over this with Bloodghast, we might be able to bring them back. We only have 1 creature card in graveyard, and that's the other Grist at the moment. Can we just lead the Charmed Life of our opponent not being able to go off? Now, we did engineer this situation by Thoughtseizing our opponent. I suspect our opponent will kill us the turn before we kill them, because that's how things work sometimes. The Shadowspear doesn't matter aside from being able to deal extra damage. So let's plus this first, see if we find a Bloodghast. We did find a Bloodghast. That's cool. So we'll crack this now. Go and get Bayou. Bring back our friend. Play the Shadowspear. Equip the Shadowspear. The other option we have here is to Life from the Loam looking for specifically the Boseiju. But I think just halving our opponent's life total so we can kill them next turn makes more sense than that. Do we get there? We know they've got enough mana to go off. It's whether or not they hit one of their payoff cards. Nice. Very nice. Bloodghast coming to the rescue. Ordinarily with a Pox deck, we wouldn't have the pressure here. So by playing a different build that has more pressure, that's actually working better for us. Okay, I would like these Damping Spheres, these Null Rods, and these Coffin Purges. So the reason we went for Coffin Purges is because when we're loaming, we can still get these and do stuff. We have a main deck Nihil Spellbomb. Very happy to have that in the list. I like the Liliana, which can start ticking up and doing stuff. The Smallpox is okay. Our opponent might not have that many lands. Wasteland does have targets here. As a Saga is slow, but does tutor for Nihil Spellbomb, so you probably want that. I don't think we need the Cabal Pit, so we can take that one out. And then we're probably just going to have to get rid of some top end here and just stop ourselves from losing. And probably don't even need to do loam stuff that much, do we? Maybe I'd rather keep the loams in than the expirations. 3 loams, 2 expirations. Sorry, we get another loam here, don't we? Do I like the Lilianas? Like, if our opponent doesn't have anything, we can just exhaust their resources over time, though. Maybe that is better than some of these things. We don't need the Grist, but if we can just strip our opponent's hand when they don't have the combo piece to go off, then by the time they draw it, they won't have the mana to deploy it. Now that is good provided we get a turn. I think the Mox Diamond is a superior piece of acceleration here because we can play it early and play something like a Damping Sphere or a Null Rod. Yes, Null Rod is a bit of a numbo with our own thing, but if it shuts down the Lotus Petals and the Chrome Moxes, it might be enough that our opponent can't go off. This is such a skewed matchup, we have to do some real weird things. But I'm here for it. Okay, Thoughtseize is definitely part of the plan, isn't it? Our opponent might suspect something like a leyline from us. They kept 7, so we should lose here. Go on, play that tapped. Don't pay the life, just have it tapped. Okay, they paid the life, we're dead. We don't have any 0 mana interactions, so 1 mana interaction is about the best we could do. There is a Dark Ritual. A Goblin Charbelcher. So we have Null Rod. That works. So they've suspected we might have something that can interfere with the Charbelcher. So we have a guaranteed denial of 1 mana, or we can Thoughtseize our opponent and maybe take some mana. That's an interesting one. I think I want to Thoughtseize our opponent here and take... Like, all of the cards in their hand can be taken via Thoughtseize because of the way their deck's constructed. We just need to stop them hitting 3 mana, and then we're good. So by playing this Thoughtseize this turn, we can play the Smallpox next turn, which is why I like the Thoughtseize play more. It builds up nicely into what we would like to accomplish. An Elvish Spirit Guide. Alright, let's get rid of that. Can you miss on mana for a turn, please, opponent? Just 1 turn. They did miss for a turn, so now we can strip. Do we want to Wasteland our opponent here? I think that's probably better than the Smallpox right now. Yeah, let's just Wasteland them here. So Dark Ritual is what we're trying to dodge at the moment. So I think the play is probably Urza's Saga plus Life and Loam on our turn, depending on what our opponent does. If they do nothing, then that's definitely our play. Another Thoughtseize. I don't think we need to do that. I think we are just going to go get back our Wasteland and start cranking out some Saga constructs. So if we give our opponent enough time, they will win the game. If they play a land, we have to take a turn off. Do we need to... This can find us some useful stuff, actually. Found us the Boseiju. That is a useful thing, isn't it? I'm very much interested in getting this Boseiju going. But what are we going to do afterwards? Probably Thoughtseize our opponent, right? So let's get these 2 back. And then we'll Thoughtseize our opponent, see what they're on. So we might be building up for a different combo attempt here. Balustrade Spire, Reanimate, Simon Spirit Down, Wear Down. I don't really want to take this... I don't really want to take the Spy, because then I just give them the win that way. So I think we have to take the Reanimate here. Or is it the Spirit Guide? Spirit Guide buys us another turn, then we can worry about the rest later. We can't fire off these Smallpoxes until we get the Nihil Spellbomb though. We'll take the mana. The easiest way we lose is if they just activate this. Or if we take the Balustrade Spy and then they get us that way. We're doing it. We're actually grinding our way through absolutely disgustingly horrible matchups. We probably should have had ley lines in the sideboard rather than Coffin Purges. But I love Coffin Purge. Maybe I've been playing too much pre-modern. Alright, so they did draw a land. They're going to reanimate the Boggart Trawler. Okay. Smallpox will clean this up momentarily. Okay. So, am I making a construct here? I don't think I am. I think I'm just floating mana this time around. We don't have a lot of things I would like here. I think this is fine though. I think we go float from this. We then get a piece of Graveyard Hate. And they brought in Wear Down for the leyline that they thought we might have, which is reasonable. I think we probably should have leyline. Let's get a Nihil Spellbomb. And then we will cast Smallpox and a Boseiju are the two things we want to cast this turn. So we will Boseiju this. Oh, it's tapped our mana horribly for us there. That is very frustrating. We can afford to take a hit from this, it's not the end of the world. We'd love to find a Bloodghast right now. Not find a Bloodghast. We're probably playing this one out, aren't we? Mox Diamond, we don't need that. That can go away. Let's cast a Smallpox. So I will get rid of probably just the Verdant Catacombs here. And we'll sacrifice the Underground Mortuary because if we can get a Life from the Loam, we can get back one that has a bit more value to it than just a regular Bayou. Okay, they got rid of Balustrade Spy there. I don't know how many reanimates they have in their deck. They probably shouldn't have that many though. And we already have it covered with the Spellbomb. What a weird little game we've found ourselves in. I will deploy this Nurturing Peatland and I will draw a card from it. Another Coffin Purge. Not what we wanted. We're chilling. So they have the wear down. They could wear down our Nihil Spellbomb and then get blown out by the Coffin Purges. But if we give our opponent enough time, they can cobble together something. We need Bloodghast. Formless Genesis. That's what we're casting here. There goes a threat. It's a 5/5. That is a 2-turn clock. We just need to not die this turn, and I think we're okay. And we can Thoughtseize and just hold up these spell bombs. That's some horrific artwork though. Look at that. That's a scary little friend. And a Bloodghast. We don't need to cast a Bloodghast though. Alright, we got the game for the opponent there. So we're going to cast Thoughtseize that turn. Okay, so we're beating really difficult matchups today. I'll take it. Let's go to round 3. Ooh, a nice little Life from the Loam hand. Yeah, sign me up. Pretty good. Loam plus Exploration. What more could you possibly ask for? Bloodghasts, that's what we could ask for. We love the Bloodghasts. So we're going to pitch this Saga to the Mox Diamond here. Because at least we have a permanent mana source if something happens to this Mox Diamond. Can I have my Urza Saga back? We can. Okay. Cloud Post. Okay, I would like to draw some Wastelands. In our deck dedicated to doing Wasteland stuff. So we get these two back now. We don't get to do anything this turn really though. I think I will deploy Urborg this turn. Just allows us to Smallpox and Life from the Loam next turn. A Glimmer Post, sure. You play anything spooky here, opponent? Or can we have a turn? Are we going to be friends? Grim Monolith. I don't think we're going to be friends here, are we? This isn't what friends do to one another. No? Not the One Ring? I think the Cloud Post deck is actually the best Micro Spawn deck in Legacy right now. And I think it's much better than Eldrazi. I think this deck is really good. I get slept on a little bit. Another Grim Monolith. What do you need all this mana for? 3, 4... Are they going to kick a Micro Spawn this turn? What is this? What are we supposed to do about that? We lose all of our lands here. Yeah, I don't want to play against that. Okay. Turn 2 kick Micro Spawn is not a thing that should be allowed. Very sad times. So how are we supposed to beat that? Well, I would like these Damping Spheres. That's certainly going to assist in what we're trying to accomplish. And then nothing else here really strikes me as being great. Probably not going to be a matchup where we need the Shadowspear or the Nihil Spellbomb. Probably not going to be a Cabal Pit matchup either. And then that takes us to where we need to be. We were so happy with that game, then all of a sudden we just immediately lost on turn 2. Yikes. This Mox Diamond does not seem very good right now. We need to mulligan this. Okay. I will keep this. We need to put a card back, don't we? Probably the Mox Diamond. We don't really want a 2-for-1 ourselves here. So we go get this forest. Deploy the Exploration. Deploy the Mishra's Factory so we can start beating our opponent down. And we don't want them to know we have this Wasteland. Playing a Nexus. Candelabra of Taurus. Sure. Let's waste this. Let's get these 2 lands back. I think that is more important right now. And then we can deploy this and get a Surveil land going. Alright, we've got our opponent in the Wasteland lock and we have a bonus Smallpox we can fire off at some point. We're also making additional land drops every turn because of Exploration. So maybe it's our turn to just body our opponent on turn 2. Urza's Tower. It's a nice land you have. Okay, that's Spirit Guide and they're playing our Monolith with it. Kozilek's commands. They're exiling my Life from the Loam. And getting a little guy. Just a little guy. Well, it looks like our opponent really wants to get Smallpox in the face. That's what I'm seeing over here. Do not want this Mox Diamond. Liliana of the Veil. That's certainly useful down the track. If we want a Smallpox, we have to play both these out, which means if we Smallpox, we lose our Liliana, and then we're just kind of in the dirt a little bit. But I think that's okay here. I think that's better than losing our Wasteland here. So we play both of these out, and then we go Smallpox, black. Might as well get black off of this, is fine. I'll just lose the Underground Mortuary here. Mishra's Factory. What a card. Okay. A Glimmer Post. Activate the factory. In with a factory. Am I playing this out? If we have a Grist, we want to keep a land in hand. I don't think we're wastelanding the Glimmer Post either. We don't have a recursion for this yet, so we don't want to just fire this off willy-nilly. Our opponent missing land drops. They might not be missing land drops. They might just be trying to bait us into hitting this. Okay, they have a Planar Nexus. That is one I'm happy to delete when the time comes. Let's get rid of this. Which is factory, in you come. And here comes a Damping Sphere. This is what you get when you turn to your Myco Spawn me. I'm going to make you have a bad time. Damage in. Just get our Bloodghast in. Boom. 3-turn clock. Now we can still lose to things like the One Ring on Myco Spawn. Alright, in we come. We still have the Damping Sphere. We'll hold this Boseiju in case we need to blow something else up. But they won't be able to get multiple mana out of their lands because of our Damping Sphere. So they are just playing single lands in a deck that wants to try and cast a 15-drop at some point. Oh, okay. I'll take this Wasteland, please. I'll deploy this Wasteland. And I'll deploy... Alright, they've had enough. Alright. Honestly, this deck is doing alright. Let's have a look. Do we want to change anything differently? So we could brought in Null Rods for specifically the One Ring. I don't think we're doing that though. Now it could come back to bite us, but I think I like what we've got here. We've got a plan. We've got the way to shut down their mana. We've got the way to pressure them more so than a regular Pox deck. And we can just strip away cards from our opponent's hand with Liliana. Once upon a time, what you got for us? We're playing our Nexus into Candelabra of Tornos. So we have to blow this up, otherwise our opponent gets access to 4 mana on the next turn. So we don't want that to happen. There's no point playing this Mox Diamond yet. We're not casting anything. We need to wait for the turn that we're actually using it, I think. Because then we might get some different options of what we're putting underneath it. Another Planar Nexus. A little bit rude. A Bloodghast. So we can play the Bloodghast this turn and start beating down. That seems like an okay thing to do to me. I'm going to pitch this Swamp, I think. So the plan is start Bloodghasting our opponent and then stripping their hand of Liliana. But the problem is if they have something like a One Ring here, then they have all the cards you could ever want. Alright, they're doing something even bigger here. Are we just getting Myco spawned? This board isn't so bad to get Myco spawned on. They blow up our land and they get a land of their own. Khan the Great Creator. Huh. My Mox Diamond. I was using that. Oh, then they're just revealing something. That's kind of worse. Is it going to be Graveyard Hate? Liquid Metal Coating. Right, they're just going to shut us off of all of our mana. Is that the plan, is it? Yeah, sure. It's a thing they're allowed to do. Bit rude. Such is life. So they turn this into an artifact and then the Khan stops its abilities from working its turn. It doesn't hit Planeswalkers, unfortunately. Not that we have the mana to do anything with it. Right, let's attack Khan. This means they can't tutor for a thing next turn. And we can go and get a Surveil land next turn. I think that's better than trying the Saga out here. I have Ugin. Right there. Going to blow up my Bayou this turn. Yep. Well, I get the feeling we're about to get Kozilek's commanded. Don't think that's what we want to be doing right now. We've already got one in hand and it's not doing us any good. I would like to go to attacks and try and kill your Khan the Great Creator. Oh look, it's a Kozilek's command blowing up my creature. 3, 4, 5, 6. And they also have this Candelabra of Tornos. So they can do a massive one here. Honestly, I think it would have been better just to do that on their turn and just have a massive K command going. I have to assume that's what's happening here. It should just be rather elementary for our opponent to win if they do have the K command here. Are they going to go for cards or are they going to go for mana? Okay, so just making some tokens so that we can't. That's better than removing our guy. So they get to stick a load of cards wherever they want them. And they get to chump block here and have all the mana in the world for next turn. Whilst they're also getting Khan locked out. Yeah, I think we're done with this one. It took 3 rounds. We finally took our first loss of the league. I think the turn 2 micro spawn hand was pretty brutal, but this Smallpox deck is really good and people just keep sleeping on it. I think it is one of the better decks like out there that isn't one of the big known ones that everyone's jamming at the moment. Alright, let's go to round 4. Thoughtseize, Smallpox, Wasteland, Life in the Loam. Sign me up. These are all the cards I love to play with. I think we have to lead off on the Urborg here. What you got over there? Oh, we're one of those people, are we? We're doing some high tide. So what is the plan here? Like the Merchant Scroll is a guaranteed high tide. Ponder is just good and efficient. Our Wastelands are very unlikely to do anything. I reckon we take the Merchant Scroll. The deck can win without high tide. It's just not very easy. So Smallpox can take out one of their lands, if that's what we want to do. And our Wasteland isn't doing very much here, so we can probably just play the Wasteland, Smallpox, and next turn, Life from Loam, get some stuff back, kind of move on with life. They could have Tropical Islands in their deck. I expect we're seeing a Ponder here. There it is. So the other option we have is to Urza Saga and just try and beat down. But I don't know if that's just going to be good enough or not. I think we probably need to try and disrupt our opponent again. They are a critical mass combo deck, so Smallpox hitting a land and a card in their hand is pretty relevant. How do I feel about having this Exploration? I feel pretty good about having the Exploration. Let's play this out. Let's cast the Exploration. Let's play the Wasteland. Let's cast this Smallpox. I will discard this Life from the Loam so we can dredge it next turn. And I'll get rid of this Wasteland. Not a bad little turn. So our opponent's going to play this Misty Rainforest. They're going to get Basic Island. They're going to use it to either Lorien Revealed here or Ponder. I imagine it's probably Ponder, but they could Lorien Revealed if they're scared of additional effects. Okay, so yeah, they're holding up the Lorien Revealed. We got them scared. Let's have this Life from the Loam. Is that Bloodghast I spy? It is. I would like to get back these lands, please. Okay, so play the Mishra's Factory, because that enables us to have an additional attacker next turn. And then I guess you play out the Urza Saga, because that gets us more attackers further on down the line. There is the Lorien Revealed doing what we expected it to do. Probably going for some classic Ravnica lands. We will dredge Life from the Loam. Our deck is built around it, so there's going to be some good stuff we can get off of it. Let's play land. Activate using this Urborg, actually. Passion for 4. I'll play this land, and we're just going to hold this so that we can Wasteland and make a construct, because maybe they have a Tropical Island or a Mystic Sanctuary, and we can skew the amount of mana they think they have. It's unlikely to matter, but I think it's better than just like casting a Life from the Loam and not making a construct. Like, if we're making the construct is the best thing we're doing, then having the Wasteland to sort of back it up doesn't hurt. Turnabout. Are we going to see the defensive turnabout where they tap our stuff down? There's a possibility. Kind of wish we had Boots of Going Faster, whatever they're called here. Lightning, Lava Spur Boots? Is that the one? Is that what it's called? So do I want... I think we want the... Okay, they're fetching around Pith and Needle. That's what we're doing here. I think we want the Nihil Spellbomb here. So if we get back some lands here, we can redeploy this one and this one. And then we can make the Mishra's Factory into a little friend, which pumps our other constructs as well. 8 damage coming in. Opponent is on 4. There is a Brainstorm. Again, this is not a matchup, but feels like it's going to be a particularly good one, really. Like, they've got a bunch of basic lands, so our Wasteland strategy isn't very good. And we're not able to pressure them enough that they get to do what they want. Sorry, that we stop them from doing what they want. Is this going to be... There is a high tide. Okay, so they're going... There's another high tide. Okay, that's pretty good. The Mind's Desire in the graveyard. A turnabout, untapping their lands. 2 cards in hand. One of them is Time Spiral. So, are we going to crack this Nihil Spellbomb in response to the Time Spiral and take a Mind's Desire out of their deck? And a Merchant Scroll and some other bits and pieces? I don't think we're doing much else. Right, they're just drawing with Lorien Revealed first. They've got lots of mana, they may as well just deploy it all before they reset. Deploy as many cards as they can, and then reset and get a load of cards. Prologue to Phyresis. Okay, they're going the poison route. So we have a poison counter now, and they've got the, what's it called? Rad Zone? Something like that? Which gives us a poison counter, sorry, which proliferates and then has Storm. So they can then just proliferate up. Could be a tricky one from this point for us to win this one. I think we did a good job though. We marshaled our resources the best way we could. It's just going to be a little bit tough for us on this front. A Merchant Scroll. Sure. Feels like we are going to Nihil Spellbomb our opponent here. They're trying to do as much as they can before they Time Spiral as well, because sometimes Time Spiral can miss and you don't get anywhere. It seems incredibly unlikely at this point with this many high tides floating around. They decided not to shuffle with a Ponder, so they're going to continue doing stuff. Prologue to Phyresis. We get another poison counter. Rad Storm. Storm is 11. That's going to be enough just to kill us with poison. Cool. Alright, well, we have a Damping Spheres, so I would like to have those Damping Spheres here. And the rest of the cards do not do anything. Nihil Spellbomb is not really a card we want for this matchup. Cabal Pit is not a card we need. The Boseiju is not really great either, but it's part of our mana base, I think, so you can't get rid of that one. The Grist is a touch slow, so we'll take out one Grist. We just got the Damping Spheres. This hand will not beat High Tide. Let's mulligan this. This hand could beat High Tide. We keep this, we get rid of a Wasteland. We should have brought out some Wastelands really, shouldn't we, thinking about it? That would have been better than I would rather have a Cabal Pit than this Wasteland now I think about it. Let's take a look at our opponent's opening hand. Even though they're a deck that doesn't go off in the first couple of turns, it gives us the ability to mess with what they're playing with. So I guess we take this Merchant Scroll. We've got 2 Prologues to Phyresis there. It's quite a lot. So our Smallpox will almost certainly get counterspelled if we can find the mana to even play it, that is. A Mox Diamond. Can I have a Mox Diamond? We can. Just use this as a sinkhole that makes them discard a card. And then any land we get does stuff. Alright, it's Hymn to Turak instead, which is fine. I would love to have Hymn to Turak in this matchup, so if it becomes the one, I'm more than happy. They're cycling around revealed, so we have perfect information of their hand here. There's an island. Let's get our mediocre threat in, and then we can start doing loam stuff, try and find some more threats. So get some more Bloodghast going, get some Formless Genesis maybe. Protophyresis, we're starting to feel a bit sick over here. The poison is beginning to tick. See what we draw in if it changes anything. It's a good card for us to have though. I don't believe they're interested in interacting with that at all. Alright, Bloodghast. In you go. Get stuck in. Boom, 2 massive points of damage. I think we will dredge here. Nothing that we particularly wanted. I'll go for this Liliana. I believe they're going to just bounce it on the stack with this Sink into Stupor. Yep, just a tempo play, that's fine. We've got to work through our opponent's resources somehow. Mystic Sanctuary. Getting back the Merchant Scroll most likely. Could be the wrong revealed though. Okay, they're going for the Merchant Scroll. They have a land we can actually Wasteland. 2 of them in fact. I don't believe we're going to dredge this loam now. Merchant Scroll, they're going to get this High Tide. They are. I don't believe they're going off this turn. Thoughtseize would be a nice draw. Let's try and draw that. A Smallpox. I don't think Smallpox is the one here. It does impact our opponent in 2 different angles, right? I think we're just playing the Liliana though. And we will plus this. Get rid of the loam. And hopefully we can just ride this Liliana. They have High Tide plus a mystery card in hand. Alright, they're going. They've got something. Is it Time Spiral? If it's Time Spiral, then they probably have this. It's Time Spiral. So now they get to untap all their lands and have all the mana. So the Smallpox line is slightly better here, but I think we still lose even if we Smallpox there. We're just F6 here. Poor little Bloodghast. It's got haste now, though. Not that that's going to be relevant. Another High Tide. Brainstorm. We already have the poison counter, so we just need to get up to Rad Storming us. Prologue to Phyresis. Sure. Just a couple more spells and then they can Rad Storm when we die. This looks like a turnabout. There it is. Tapping all their lands. Many, many manas in their pool. Turnabouts. Yep, you've got lots of mana, opponent. And now Rad Storm is lethal if they have it. Merchant Scroll. Is Rad Storm an instant? Sorry, it is an instant, right? There we go. So they get to tutor for their win condition and kill us. And we get poisoned out. Unfortunate. Alright, that's 4 rounds done. We've now dropped from 2-0 to 2-2, which is more like the Pox experience. Let's see how we can do in the final round. Maybe we'll play against a deck that isn't basically a combo deck. His hand needs some help. I like the Thoughtseize and the Bloodghast. I like what Formless Genesis does for us eventually. It does nothing right now. I think we need to mulligan this. Okay, we've got Sagas, which are engines here. I'll keep this. And what are we getting rid of? I think it's the Mox Diamond. The Mox Diamond's pretty good with Saga. If we're just playing a Saga game. Maybe it's the factory. Let's try without the factory. We have access to green mana. We have access to black for Smallpox. And we have a plan with Urza's Saga. We don't need to play the Mox Diamond straight away. Let's see what our opponent is up to and see what we want to do about it. So we play the Saga on 1. Turn 2, we play the Mox Diamond. Do we need to play the Mox Diamond now? I think we might do, just because we don't want this to get discarded. So I think we bin off the Urborg, so we at least have green, so we can access our... So this turns off... Well, it doesn't turn off Smallpox. We have black for Smallpox. It means it's going to have to be cast off these two specific sources. I think we pitched the Urborg though. So this way we have access to turn 2, start cranking out constructs, and maybe we can just play the classic Urza Saga game that can really smash a lot of people down. That's what we're going for. Pithing. Oh, my Urza Saga plan. I wonder what our opponent's playing. That has made me a little bit sad. Alright, Surveil Land it is. Our opponent could be on like Turbo Depths. It's possible. Said they're a fan of the channel. Expedition map. Okay, they are not on that. They're on something more akin to regular lands, which kind of does a lot of the things that we do, but better, which is not the ideal. But this is going to shut off their own Urza Sagas. So they're probably going to be looking for a Marit Lage win condition. Oh, hello. A Boseiju, you say? I guess we get the Nihil Spellbomb here. Our opponent is a Loam deck, most likely. And then we deploy this Saga. And then we Boseiju away this mean little Pithing Needle so we can actually get to do our Urza Saga constructs. Now this will give our opponent another piece of mana. I suspect their deck is pretty land heavy though. They could be like green-white depths. That is a deck that can more readily Pithing Needle and Urza Saga than regular lands. But we'll see. Cracking the expedition map. They're going to get a Wasteland. They're getting their own Urza Saga. 2 Urza Sagas. Urza Sagaing away. Life from the Loam is pretty big news here. But we can't make constructs and Loam. I think we're just going to make constructs and see if we can outmuscle our opponents. We've got their graveyard on lockdown and we have our own engine built up. So I think we can just keep churning with these. Field of the Dead. It's a naughty one, isn't it? To many creatures over there. So they're more like 8 mulch. Let's get a construct. If we draw a land, we can make a construct here. We did draw a land. It's a very good land as well. Now I don't really want to make the construct. I just want to float, I think. I'll get Shadowspear. We'll play this out. We will wasteland this Urza Saga. Make it a friend. We will get back Wasteland, Urza Saga. We'll get Boseiju as well, I guess. Pretty strong position right there. So we could Boseiju this away. We can't play this Wasteland, but we can Boseiju this away. And then play... And just attack for 4. Yeah, just crunch. If our opponent's working up to Field of the Dead... Okay, they have no more basics in their deck. Surprised they don't have a snow-covered forest. Maybe it's in their hand. But now we get to grind away. We don't want our opponent tutoring up something with the Saga, so I think it was worth missing out on getting the Saga running just to stop them from doing that, and now we get to wasteland them every turn. We don't get to wasteland them every turn anymore. Very nice pickup from our opponent there. But we are still obviously ahead on board. Right, let's have this construct going. Let's make another Urza Saga token. And we'll start jamming. 5 lifelink damage. This also puts us above 20, which is really important. We don't want to get Marit Laged. Maze of Ith. We already have an answer for that. Sphere of Resistance. That's fine. Let's destroy this Maze of Ith. They could have a crop rotation. They did not. Alright, I will fire this off immediately to make our creature larger. And they're scooping it up. Alright, the Urza Saga plan against the lands deck managed to actually get there, which is quite incredible. How do we want to play against what our opponent's doing, though? It's probably Coffin Purges for Loams, because we dredge our Loam, we hit Coffin Purges for their Loam. That's probably about where we're at here. I like the Boseiju, the Ghost Quarter. I don't really like the Cabal Pit that much here. Maybe we can get rid of one of those. I don't think we need a Shadowspear for this matchup. The Liliana is fine. The Smallpox is fine. The Grist is fine. At the moment, we're playing this with 2 Coffin Purges. I don't really want to be inundated with Coffin Purges. They are a nice thing we get to mill over and do stuff with, but I think just having 2 is probably fine here. There's an argument that maybe we won't get enough mana to make these Lilianas work. We could also trim 1 Mox Diamond in case our opponent has access to Force of Vigor. That's a spooky one for us. If they can like nail a Mox Diamond and a Saga or something. I'd rather have a Purge. I think I'd rather have a Purge than the 4th Mox Diamond. We'll try this out. We don't really want a 2nd Mox Diamond most of the time. Turn 1 Thoughtseize you, turn 2 something, turn 3 Liliana. Lose to Wasteland. Do I want to lose to Wasteland? I think we're okay with this. Lush Portico. Alright, so we actually get to have a look at our opponent's hand with a Thoughtseize. We'll see how bad it is. We could just go straight in for Wasteland and then just start being the bad guy there. I think I want to Thoughtseize. Force of Vigor, Life from the Loam, Swords to Plowshares. Well, well, well. Really wish I'd have Wastelanded now, don't I? Alright, I'll take the Force of Vigor. They left the card on top, so it's quite possible they have another land. We're playing this game, opponent? Is this the game you want to play? And Urza's Saga. Maybe they will Wasteland this before... If they Wasteland this with the trigger on the stack, we can still tap it for black, and then we can just Smallpox, and then they got nothing. That does appeal to me. Alright, let's try this. Oh, we're actually getting our opponent the way we wanted to. So this doesn't do anything now. And we get to Smallpox. And send everyone back to the Stone Age. I would like to discard... We're not discarding any of our lands here. The Loam is a thing we can get back when we want it, so I think that's fine. They also discarded a Loam. Alright, sometimes you just sign up for a really silly game, and that's what we've done here. We have the Wasteland. If our opponent plays a green source, we will immediately snap this off. Unless they play a basic forest, of course. A Richard Port. We'll not dredge that one. A Nihil Spellbomb, you say? I think I'm okay just to fire this off right now. Am I? We don't really need to. Like, them dredging doesn't actually make a difference here. Maze of Ith, okay. A Mox Diamond. I don't hate that for next turn. So that much for nothing. Would I like a Wasteland right now? I think I... No, we need this to imprint the Mox Diamond, don't we? Alright, we'll pass. We need our opponent to not play a land and Rish Temport us. So we'll pop out our graveyard here and we're going to dredge. So they should tap down our land in response, I think. Once we've drawn. Let's have a draw steps. Okay, so we get Wasteland, Catacombs, Urborg, I think here. We'll concentrate on mana, I think, first. And also denying our opponent's mana. I think as this resolves, then we're in a pretty good spot. Well, I will exile my opponent's graveyard here. So we're losing the Mox Diamond, but we got the mana out of it. And now we get this stuff back. And we get to Wasteland our opponent. This is why I chose the mana producing sources. In case anything went wrong, we could still do stuff with our mana here. And now our opponent is in the Wasteland lock. And eventually we'll get them. Sure, I'll take a Loam. Any Bloodghast? No free Bloodghasts. Boo. Right, we'll go and get the forest here. We'll Loam, we'll get back Verdant Catacombs, Wasteland, and Saga, I think, here. And then next turn we can deploy the exploration, and then we're away. And our opponent is probably in the dirt. We got the GGs already. The writing's on the wall when we've got the Loam and stuff going. Alright, so we got the match. Okay, so we basically played 4 hard matchups, I think, all day long. Like, we want matchups where we can grind away their little creatures, you know, like sort of mid-rangey matchups where they, you know, maybe trying to cast like 3 drops or something like that. And or like little creatures, so we can early Smallpox and take a creature, a card from their hand and a land and really jam them up. But we played against 5 matchups that don't really feel great. And we came away with a 3-2, so I'm going to chalk that up as a massive victory. So how do I feel about this deck? Well, I enjoyed it a great deal. I love Bloodghast and I love Life from the Loam Wastelanding people. I know a lot of people enjoy Mono Black Pox, and Mono Black Pox does have a lot better results of late. But there's just something about Life from Alone Wasteland and people that I just keep coming back to. We didn't get to Life from Alone Ghost Court or anyone, which made me sad, because that's always a fun thing to do. But I do love lone blocking people. It is one of my favourite things to do, which says a lot about me. And also the exploration, just to then get over the hump, is quite nice as well. So I like a lot about this deck. I think the Grists and the Lilianas didn't feel that good here. I think we could possibly like just get rid of these and just play some more like lands package type stuff. I did have a build of this deck that had Malevolent Rumble in and the One Ring, but I couldn't quite fit everything in. But maybe that's the thing you could do. You could turn these into like Hymn to Turax and more sort of stuff of that ilk. If you wanted to go more into like a landsy route, you could even try and play some Tabernacles in there, which another build I had some Tabernacles in. I'm not 100% sure where I would take this, but this deck makes me want to play a mono black deck with Bloodghast and Smallpox and regular Pox. That is something that my body is telling me that I really want to do. I love Bloodghast. It's just a fun little guy. And this card was actually good. You know, the Pox decks are susceptible to not being able to win the game. And by having just a few Bloodghasts in your deck when you're doing loam stuff means that you've got some win conditions in there somewhere. They're relatively reliable, and they're rewarding you for the thing you want to be doing anyway, which is dredging Life from the Loam and playing Wastelands and stuff like that. So yeah, quite a big fan of this one. I got to beat down with the Mishra's Factory, which is also very much Magic the Gathering at its finest. So yeah, I had an absolute blast with this deck. Even though we had some tricky matchups and we had to do some dirty stuff to get the wins. That's what Pox is all about, really, is grinding everyone down. And maybe you've got like a very niche way of winning a game where you can cheese someone. But this is a deck that is very good at cheesing people. So we need to exploit that as much as we can. And we did have that hand that looked a bit ropey that ended up winning us the game because it attacked on the one axis that we had that interacted with our Sneak and Show opponent. I think the sideboard could definitely be improved. You can have some ley lines in here. I just always get in the sauce when I start playing lone decks. I'm like, oh, we can have this. At least I didn't go full playing Entombs and trying to entomb like Vengeful Pharaohs and stuff, which is definitely something I've done before. Which you could do if you need some removal in Pox, but I'm not sure that's necessarily the one. This is not necessarily a deck I would recommend as is for a really competitive tournament, but you could definitely play it to a more casual setting, like an F&M style thing. And I think you could probably iterate and improve upon this and end up with something that's pretty reasonable, that you wouldn't be ashamed to throw some play points out in a challenge or something. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope my donor loves seeing Pox on the channel. It's because of you that Pox is here. If anyone else has a pet deck they want to see regular action on my channel with, by all means check out the Patreon link in my description of this video. Alright, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.